So should the Canadian Premier League be looking at possibly adding designated player spots to each team in the CPL moving forward? That's something we're going to talk about in this week's video, so stay tuned. Hey guys, it's Curtis here and you're watching my channel A.F.C. Curtis. For all your Canadian Premier League stuff right here on YouTube, make sure you hit that red subscribe button and that bell notification because there's some really good content coming out in these next couple of weeks, so you're not going to want to miss. So what is a designated player? Well, a designated player is essentially a roster rule. There's going to be 3 slots on each team in the MLS. The MLS, of course, has this designated player rule, and essentially each spot can be filled by a player that's of a higher quality that would not normally play in a league like the MLS for a lower salary, unless they are in a designated player slot. So essentially, for example, you can sign a big name player like a David Beckham for, let's say, $6.5 million a year for his salary. Now in the MLS, the salary cap is only $4.5 million. So how would that work? How would you get a $6.5 million salary player to come in, a really good player too, really good brand name, sells jerseys, sells tickets, and helps your team win trophies? How do you get that player to fit under your salary cap? That's through the designated player rule. That's when this rule comes in, because only $1/3 from that salary that you're paying David is actually going to go against your salary cap. So you're having a $6.5 million player play for your team, but only $1/3 is actually hitting that $4.5 million salary cap that you have for that MLS team. So it works out to be a really good deal for some. Would designated players benefit the CPL? I think it very well might. If we do get designated player slots in the CPL, I think 3 is a good number to have. But I think the salary cap really needs to grow for this, because you do have to pay, so have a certain amount of the salary hit your salary cap. But with this, if you get a good brand name player like a David Beckham to come into your team, or a Thierry Henry or Sebastian Giovinco, and he plays really well, you're going to attract fans. You're going to get fans to buy money on jerseys with that player's name on it. You're going to get more fans in the seats to watch them live all across the country. Really, this is not only going to help with the club, but the league as in general. Plus, you're going to have more people watching and hearing about them and watching them on TV every week. Once we get CPL games on a weekly basis on TV, you got more people possibly even subscribing to One Soccer. So I mean, ultimately, a good name, a good brand name player coming into play as a designated player for that CPL could benefit the league, because you got all these different eyeballs coming in and spending money on the league. And with more people watching it, that becomes a pretty attractive league and pretty attractive club to sponsors, which means more sponsorship dollars will roll in, which means you're going to potentially make a lot of good money here, not only for the club, but for the CPL. Now, why I think that the CPL shouldn't have the designated player rule, at least not for right now, is because the salary cap is so low. It is allegedly around the $750,000 to $800,000 mark for 2020, possibly beyond. We don't know if they're going to expand it or not. Either way, though, it is quite low. And if you are going to bring in a player that's like $6.5 million that's worth, how are you going to reflect that at the end of the day in your earnings? I mean, every team, let's say, is running at a $2 million overall budget every season. Every team is spending $2 million to run that team for the entirety of the season. If you're not going to make $2 million in profit, you're not going to break even. Plus, add on top of that the $6.5 million contract you got to pay, the salary you got to pay of this player for X amount of years. That's going to make it even harder to kind of get that profitable margin to become not only break even, but to become a profitable football club. And at the end of the day, right now, financially, at least in the short term, I think it's going to be a bad idea if the CPL does go on and open up a designated player roster spot or 2 or 3 on any team, because unless it's going to be a cap amount where you can only spend this amount on a certain player in terms of salary for a designated player, and only this amount will hit the cap space, it could be a horrible idea for clubs to start investing money like that in players and not see a return in the short term or long term, which could end up bankrupting the club. So those are my points of view, good and bad, of why the CPL should have designated players. Let me know your ideas down in the comment section below. Do you think the CPL should have designated players? Maybe they shouldn't have designated players? Let me know down in the comment section below. Of course, if you like this video, guys, you gotta show me you like this video. You gotta hit that thumbs up button, that like button. Of course, also hit that red subscribe button, and then that little bell notification right beside it, so you can get notified each and every week when I drop a brand new episode, just like this one. We're also got a bunch of great content coming over the next couple of weeks through the CPL season. So definitely you want to hit that bell notification. You do not want to miss a single video that's coming. I promise you that. You can also watch my content also at northernstarting11.com. We'll have a link for that website down in the description below. And until next time, guys, I'll see you later.